Good morning, and welcome to another episode of Disability Matters. I'm Morgan Spicer, Self Advocate Coordinator with People First of West Virginia. Over the years, I've learned just how powerful self advocacy can be and how much of a difference it makes when your story gets out to the world. Disability Matters covers a wide range of topics designed to inform you, inspire you, and strengthen you on your own advocacy journey. We'll bring you a variety of guests along with interviews with advocates across the state. Remember, this show is about so much more than legislative advocacy. It's about every story, every voice, and every step forward. This month, I had the chance to speak to Jason Bowlick, clinical leader at Community Services Incorporated in Dunbar, West Virginia. Let's get to that interview now. Today, I'm joined by Jason Bowlick from Community Services Incorporated. You want to tell us a little bit more about yourself and what Community Services Incorporated does?
So I'm the clinical director for community services, and you may have heard of us by our acronym CSI, because our agency has been an agency since 2004, and we're an IDD waiver, Medicaid waiver provider. We provide services for families, mostly families in the Kanawha Putnam area, and we're licensed in the surrounding counties, so the different services for the IDD waiver program. And we have a day program in Dunbar, which is a lot of what our self-advocacy training is provided for the people that come to our day program. And if you're not familiar listening to the interview, a day program is specifically intellectual developmental disability Medicaid waiver, and it's for adults out of school. And basically, it's providing those continued supports for functional academics and social skills trainings in the community. And oftentimes, we can mirror and support family and residential goals in the day program setting and get several different environments to help like maintain skill, but also maybe build new skill over time with the different social and functional academic training that we do. So,
Now, my previous job, I was a direct support provider. So it sounds like what you guys do is almost like life skills training, supported employment. Is that what I'm understanding?
supported employment's a different service. It's more provided at a place of person's employment, and we currently do not provide that service, but we're licensed to be able to. We've had several individuals in the past where we had supported them for over a decade, I think, and specifically only a couple of people, but we staffed supported employment prior to COVID, and then after COVID, the state opted to do conflict-free case management. So those people chose to continue to get supported employment with a direct support provider that was different and kept case management through CSI. So we still monitor and help support the supported employment service, but we currently don't have anybody getting that service.
Okay, perfect. All right. So tell us a little bit about your job as a clinical director, excuse me, and what it entails.
So most of my job is program compliance. The intellectual developmental disability Medicaid waiver policy manual is twice as much content as most other equivocal waiver programs. And program compliance, there's written and unwritten rules. And knowing all of that, in addition to helping clinical guidance for our case management and family services, sometimes parents will call me for assistance, and sometimes it's asking for help in a case management role, and I have to give some, you know, general guidance and then go see your case manager, or my case managers come to me, hey, I've never heard about this situation. And then, as you know, having the experience in a lot of different fields, specifically, you know, application of intellectual developmental disability in different programs and different services, And being at CSI for 10 years now, I've pretty much seen everything, so I can provide that assistance. I do a lot with initial onboarding for services and intakes. And then I also do day program supervision. I'm really proud of our day program and what it can do for people and what it's currently doing for the people that attend. And then I also do service utilization compliance. So there's a utilization eligibility element to our program where you have to use the services to stay on the program. So a lot of that is, yeah, you can use it for this or you can't use it for that, but here's a way around that. That those sorts of things are what I do the day to day, and then just basically emailing. I email so much. it's it's a lot of emails, but I like email in that like you have a written record because our program is long term. I can pull up emails from 2016. Those sorts of things are more of the long term care that we provide. So
So, quick question. I know you just mentioned you guys have a day program. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
yeah, so it's in Dunbar and it's located in the middle of Dunbar. So we have some places in walking distance, like a Dollar General, an ice cream shop, and basically parks that we can go to. But it's very easily accessible right outside of downtown Charleston, and we have more of a in facility type of a program where everything you would want to do out in the community can be done inside in the building because we have such a large day program. A lot of our rooms are transitional, so a lot of people have issues with transitions, like going from home to a new place. And a lot of what we've tried to do in designing our day program has been transitional. So you come in through the front door, you get ready for the day, and then you can transition back to the back of the building with different activities in each room. And then in addition to that, we allow people choice in their daily schedule, but maintaining expectations for training. So you may do a little bit of work and then you do a little bit of choice leisure. And we have TVs where you can stream the favorite shows as a motivational tool. We have a computer room where people can research their own interests, and then we can also use those interests as training tools for, hey, and I'll give examples of this later. And then we also have like game room, so like a room where you can shoot basketball, play air hockey. And we have a Wii. Those are a little bit older, but they're more functional for gross and fine motor skills. I have a VR headset for the more newer technology folks to kind of still have those same hand-eye coordination, gross motor. And then we have a craft slash movie slash exercise room. And if you can understand all of those, it's a large conference room basically, but we've kind of sectioned it off and it's wide open. It's also where we have our monthly events. And then what I'm super proud of is two sensory rooms. So we have whole rooms dedicated for sensory decompression. If somebody has a sensory overload, to prevent problem behaviors in those transitions, but also in addition to environmental stimuli that may cause people to overreact or have like a overload, they can go and listen to music off of the Alexas that we have. Some starry night kind of lighting. We could turn the lights off and still provide supervision. We have cameras throughout the day program, so if somebody's in a room and they want to be alone, we can actually honor that and still keep eyes on. And super proud of our day program. Very open for showing it to anybody that wants to come see it. And I'm super excited to meet new people and have them come see our day program and come see some of our people that have been coming to a CSI day program, not necessarily this one, for the past 20 years. So,
And that sounds like you guys have a lot. That's like a really wide spectrum of stuff there that you do.
Mhm.
And when you mentioning that stuff just reminds me of some of the things that I used to do when I was a DSP. Um, was we did like life skills with them. It was called enrichment.
Right.
And then they would sometimes do like cooking. They would learn about different jobs. They would go up and work on on a production floor doing various jobs that was tailored to them. Like we were there assisting them,
Right.
but we had individuals who we rewarded them with like I remember I think I had a client where he worked Monday through Friday. So if he worked throughout the week and did really good and didn't have anybody prompt him, he got to watch wrestling matches
That's
for
something
at
that
least
we
the
put
last
in
30
one
minutes of
too.
his day,
So like
which
I had a several that had that same issue. So like in starting off, we can start off with come to the day program, you can watch your favorite stuff, and then we can spackle in, okay, let's work on these skills that your team planned for, and then kind of slowly change the ratio from coming for leisure to a balance of leisure and work, and then potentially we can maybe get more over time because we're long term. So like you can come for years and years and years, but oftentimes with our like optional day programs and optional service in our program. So if somebody doesn't want to come, then they sometimes have behavioral issues to basically discharge themselves. Some of that is what I was going to talk about self advocacy, but the whole idea is to make it like home but functional for training. So it's kind of like if somebody's having a bad day, you can be afforded that. But on the good days, we're having crafts, we're having music, we're having cooking, like you said, very light. We don't use ovens, but we do like snack assembly, that sort of thing. We just started that. And all of our groups are optional. So if somebody doesn't want to, then they don't have to. But what I've found is the social engagement of having a group, then socially you want to be with the group and then everybody has a good time and then now everybody wants to do the group. So it's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy, but in a good way.
yeah, and
So
plus it builds those connections.
exactly. And like it used to be, all not necessarily used to be in the past year, I've seen people get more social, where people had so much room, they would sit in a room with their staff, or, want to be alone. And now, like I can see now, because I have the monitor of all the cameras in my office, and that's why I keep looking up. But I can see two people now that weren't doing anything together in a couple of months ago, and they're currently, enjoying a movie that they're streaming together. But if you think about it, that's compromise too. You choose that together. If somebody doesn't want to watch it, then it's like, oh, well, I want to watch my stuff. And then it's like, well, no, that's the training part of it. Let's compromise and pick something together. And then everybody enjoys it. And it also creates like that social bond that people need to fill those levels of need, that everybody has. So,
Absolutely. So you mentioned a lot about the day program. So can you share any success stories of when your job helped an individual reach their full potential?
yes, that's kind of what I prepared for today because I've been working with a person for 10 years now, that's been coming to the CSI Day program for 20 years since our agency opened. And they've been doing more of a routine of like come in, do work, have lunch, do a little bit more work, and then it's more for the parent to have the ability to work full time. So they come at 8:30 and they get picked up at 4:30. And there is no human being on the face of this planet that wants to work 8 to 9 hours. So you got to kind of work in leisure, but in the new day program that we have that we opened in August of 2024 with all of the space, that was retraining for that person to be able to make choices for their interests throughout the whole building. And instead of it being like a day program where somebody sits at a table and does work and then transitions, we're training her to actually choose to take breaks so she doesn't work just all day and then it causes her stress. What I've seen is a decrease in self-injurious behavior for stress. Used to have to give her stress balls just to kind of get through the day. And now she goes and watches movies with people that she normally wouldn't have talked to. She's also doing research about different animals and things on our computers, whereas before we had computers, but it was more for word processing, and we evolved that into having the internet with the parental controls to keep from inappropriate things being looked at in a workplace setting. But some of the things she's looked up have been interests that were difficult to find. The most recent was yesterday. Over the past few months, she's been interested in killer whales from documentaries from things she's watched. And then she wanted a killer whale math test. So that's kind of been the thing I've been training with her about, like having potential for making choices and communicating self-interest. So, but what I've been doing over the past 10 years is like, okay, you like this, say one of them was Aladdin or the Pirates of the Caribbean Disney movie sort of thing. I'll put a character on like a functional academic test, and then that kind of gets her more motivated to do it routinely. She chose her own killer whale math test. So to find that, she found it on an AI worksheet website. I helped her print it and I scanned it to save it for later, but just yesterday, it was like an accomplishment. I don't have to come up with the worksheets. She's figuring out what she wants and then tells me, and then I get it for her. And like I've just been super stoked since yesterday, and that was just yesterday. So it's like those sorts of things happen when you give opportunity for people to make choices, then they have the ability to, like you call it self-advocacy, but just basically communicating their what wants and needs is where I'm at as far as like making sure people reach their full potential. So
Yeah, and that's a big thing about self-advocacy is expressing your wants and needs. I mean, if this is, if you want to go to the movies, you should be able to do that. If you want to watch a certain TV show, you should be able to do that. But yeah, it sounds like you've done great work with her, and it sounds like she's definitely improving.
yeah, and I'm afforded that in long-term care in our program where our population doesn't necessarily come off the program. In other case management and clinical settings, you're the problem fixer. So when the problem's solved, then you no longer get to see the progress. So I get to see the progress. Part of the reason why I've been with IDD waiver program services for so long is like it affords you to be able to stick with one person instead of running from fire to fire. So
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing for me too, is you get to see the individual's growth daily.
mhm.
You invest in them. They have, service plans that you go through those and you watch them grow. I mean, they become wonderful individuals. They come out of their shell. I mean, I had an advocate that I served, my first client. He was really quiet and laid back. And then it just took me finding the right song, the right artist, wouldn't stop talking. And
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I like, you know? So wow, that's awesome. So, all right. What does self-advocacy mean to you? And what advice would you give individuals?
So most of our population, varying levels of ability, communication wise, self advocacy means to me someone, like I said earlier, communicating their wants and needs. But a lot of the barriers to that aren't the person; it is society, basically. Someone that can't care for themselves may be legally mandated to have someone to make their decisions for them. Rules are abstract. Some don't make sense. And a lot of them are from historical decisions that people don't understand the origins of. Or it could be understood something that you do with other people and they give you a look or they just don't talk to you ever again. Those sorts of things are abstract. They're not concrete. You can't say, this is a social story. This is what happens when you do this every time. So a lot of the things people with neurotypical development learn with no explanation, you learn through embarrassment or current terminology cringe, if you've heard that. But behaviorally, self-advocacy is adaptive. So communicating your wants and needs is adaptive. And that's something that you can find in everyone. Nonverbal people biting themselves when a loud noise happens, or potentially someone that can communicate walking off mad and punching a parking lot sign when they're told no, they can't have their cell phone for something they did in school, breaking the rules. So like there's a lot of conflict and crisis that comes from decision making. And being someone's decision maker is a paradox and a conundrum. And I'm going to define those. A paradox is something with a contradiction. So by definition, if you're someone's decision maker, you're making decisions to protect them, protect their well-being, their autonomy, their future. But by stripping them of choice, you undermine the agency that makes them an independent human being. And you said earlier that you've worked with advocates and guardians. That takes away self-advocacy legally. The person's legally incompetent to make legal decisions as dictated by a judge. Or the person signs medical power of attorney over to someone, understanding that this program's too difficult for even a person with neurotypical development to understand, like how the services work, consenting to those things with informed decision making. So that's the conundrum. You're making decisions for a person, but in that you're taking away their independence. But there's also a conundrum, because a conundrum is a difficult, unsolvable dilemma. So, and this is what I talk about with people with rights and decision making. So a lot of the information about decision making and rights for people are, it's all or nothing. The person can make decisions for themselves. This is their right. This is what they can and can't do, or can do for themselves. But nobody really talks about the gray areas. So in that conundrum, can a person that makes their own decisions decide not to take their seizure medication? They can, but what happens? They harm themselves. They maybe have a seizure that's 15 minutes and an ambulance is called and they go to the hospital. Then someone comes in and says that person can't make those decisions for themselves anymore. So a lot of it involves risk, and a lot of the times when you have the family setting, parents mitigate the risk by making all the decisions for the schedule of the day, for the transportation, for the meals, for the clothes worn. And all of this is done to make it easier for someone. But then you get into how do you maintain that long term? And how you do that sometimes for people in the parent role is to exert power. So you have the authority. So if it's even intended for just independence, so that you learn over time, this is the correct decision, you're still exerting power over someone. And you throw in a higher IQ for someone and someone being verbal, people learn what causes upset to those people in power, and they'll do those things because they have nothing left to choose. No other decisions in the day. There's nothing that they have to do otherwise except to exist in a specific place. Don't leave this place. Do what I say. So what happens is when that person tries to be autonomous or tries to make decisions, they will maybe be told no if it's a bad decision to prevent a mistake. That causes a conflict because you're denying that person a choice. And then that turns into either secretive behavior or it turns into the person manipulating the decision maker. And this turns into a crisis. Most often, long term care, you see it over time. A parent has to be both a parent with authority and a roommate to compromise. So I'm saying in the worst case scenario because I've seen it and it's very traumatic for everyone for something to go into crisis, but it often boils down to someone exerting power to maintain safety and to mitigate risk because that person can't make decisions for themselves, but nobody thinks about the harder role. So it's easier to just take away all the decision making and all the choice because that makes it go smooth. No risk, low incident. Long term care, you have to teach people how to make choices. You have to teach people how to find their own self interest. Even if you can't let someone choose what medications they take, for example, you might could help them choose how they take it. Ask them why they don't want to. Maybe it tastes bad. Well, if it tastes bad, maybe we can put it in something that tastes better. Like communication and compromise oftentimes get left behind to the day to day. Let's make this easy. Let's get through the day. Let's get to the next day. So to do the hard work up front, to say, I'm going to involve you in this decision making process. You tell me what you need to get this done. I'll tell you what I need to get it through, and it's a compromise. And oftentimes in our population, when someone's either nonverbal or unable to communicate, or they have internal processes that no one else can see, feel, taste, touch, those sorts of things, you have to communicate and compromise for the day-to-day choices to make long-term care work. And that's self-advocacy to me.
Wow, that's you bring up some great points. Yeah, there is a degree of compromise, and when you're telling somebody, that they have to do something that you are stripping that from them, but there's a reward. I mean, if you do what I tell you, then maybe this will you can do this later on when you're done with what I asked you to do.
Exactly. I just said it a lot. I said a lot more. I'm sorry.
You're fine. No, I mean, you were great in describing that. I think it's just a great way of putting it so people can understand it. So, if advocates or like parents wanted to reach out to you to learn more about the program, what is the best way to get a hold of you?
So you can call me at my office. My phone number is 304-205-7978, extension 1001. You can email me from our csiwv.com website. My email is on there also. Or you can like our Facebook page for Community Services INC dot CSI. We post pictures of our day program folks doing various activities of their goals and celebrations, the different events that we have. And you can kind of see us grow on the Facebook page if you wanted to kind of see like the inner workings of how our day programs like set up as far as the transitional rooms and that sort of thing is available. We're accepting referrals for day program if you're in the Dunbar area. And very much look forward to talking to anyone. I'll talk your ear off if you want to talk about these kinds of things because I'm a big proponent of informed decision making. I'm going to tell you all of the things, and if you want to listen to me, I will talk. But if you don't call me, send me an email. It'll be a lot shorter.
Yeah, I mean it's because I mean there's a lot to support decision making. There is a lot, and it can be confusing for some people. But I've taken that training a couple times, taught by different individuals, and becomes more easier to understand when someone explains it to you rather than just zooming through it.
Exactly. I had a mom. tell me that she filed for legal guardianship of her daughter because she turned 18. And I was like, why did you do that? You know, you have options. We've talked about these before. And she said it was because her primary care physician and neurologist said that she doesn't have the ability to make decisions for herself. So you need to get legal guardianship. And I was like, that's like taking legal advice from someone that's not a lawyer, like taking advice from me. I'm going to give you, you could do medical power of attorney, you could do conservatorship, you could do, varying levels of legal decision making or fiduciary. You don't even have to take legal guardianship of someone. And it's basically the misinformation comes from people that have touched or not are in a field where someone has to have decisions made for them. They've experienced, or maybe it was from 20 years ago and not current, but that's what they know. Everybody that has this needs to go do this. And it's not the case. And if you're listening to this, not just talking to you, Morgan, but anyone listening to this, you don't have to take legal guardianship of someone to protect them from making bad decisions or to understand decisions they need to make. You could piece it out and still keep them with their legal status of being a legal adult. So some of that I feel like needs to be, and you're probably talking about the one Legal Aid just did recently. It was April 30th. I specifically joined that one because I wanted a current what's going on with it. It's been very similar for the past 10 years, but a lot of the medical professionals and people in our area have been in the Valley or in West Virginia as a specialist for decades. And, depending on, their advice and that sort of thing, that's all parents have to go off of as far as who they ask first, basically. But yeah, that just happened to me yesterday, and I'm like, give me a call, I'll explain it, because I was typing out all these emails and sending a bunch of attachments, and I feel like I made her upset because I was like, you had all these options and you chose this, and she's like, oh, did I do the wrong thing? Can I cancel it? I'm like, you can't cancel it now. It's like, but it's okay. That's, what's going to happen for your person, but it's tough. It's real tough to transition from school to adult rest of your life. The school system does the best they can to get you to graduate. The school system says you need to get a job because that's what everybody needs to get when they get out of school. But for some people, that's not going to happen, right away, right out of school. You can go to college, but it's not free. Everybody thinks that they're going to get free college. So a lot of it, I feel like needs to be more person-centered planning individually to transition from childhood to adulthood, because self-advocacy starts when you turn 18. Self-advocacy can happen when you're a child, but it doesn't have the weight of responsibility. You have the responsibility as an adult, and that needs to be more, I guess, developed. But with the resources that we have, I think we're lucky to get kids graduated. So that's just more or less my long-term observation on that specific topic. So
Yeah, and I feel like there's no such thing as too much information because I love taking trainings. I love learning about newer things that can help me help the individuals I serve, that we serve here, here through People First. Um, I don't think there is too much information, but
mhm,
sometimes people need that so they have options. They're, compared to someone's like, oh, well, I guess I'm just going to quit school. But wait, you have other options.
right,
Let's talk about these options and explore them. This isn't the only way to go. It's great to have those options and someone to break it down like you and discuss, what each thing can do and, help them with the decision they make.
exactly. And I get afforded to do that for people for decades. So I feel that, I'm super happy just to be able to be someone to give the information and be available. And that's kind of going back to what I do. That's kind of what I feel like my big role is just being available for someone to talk to.
Right. Yeah, and it's great because you know the individuals that are under your wing, you take stock, you know, you're I'm trying to put it this way, like you're almost you want the best for them,
That's that's
you know, and
100%
you
our agency's mission. So, like, and if what's best is not me, then I'll help you get there.
right.
That's always what it's about. It's what it's the program, is written for, our program specifically. So I like to follow the rules and do a good job. And that's what I'll tell everybody. That's your role too. Follow the rules, do a good job. You'll have good outcomes. And everybody's happy when that happens. So,
Mhm.
those sorts of things are things, again, in my day program, like, what do I need to do to get the reward? I'm like, you got two things: follow the rules, do a good job. That's all you got to do. It breaks down to that.
Plain and simple, yes.
Mhm.
So, is there anything else that you would like to add? I mean, you've given us a whole bunch of information today, and I really am enjoying talking with you. But I want to make sure that you know everything. You have a chance to say anything else that you might need to.
Just if anybody has any questions about how to apply for the IDD waiver program, like what to expect, what do you do while you wait to get on it? What are the different milestones? IDD waiver is my life, and I basically can take anybody's questions. I'm not going to filter you out if you don't get services through us. And then, as far as like the day program goes, again, super proud of it. If you would like to come take a tour, just to see it, if it would be good for your person, bring them to. Of course, it's got to go through case management and all of the regular services planning. Fun fact, I do that too. So I help the case managers do the services planning for our day program. So a lot of it, I feel like, is a lot of it is everybody works as a team. We're supposed to be a team, both, clinically and, as, a person's support. Um, so yeah, I'm a part of that. Even if I'm not, you can call me. It'd be just fine.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Jason, for taking the time to speak with us today. I really appreciate you able to get on so quickly and really talk about what you guys do and how it is your passion. I mean, it sounds like you love what you're doing, and that's as long as you love what you're doing, that's a great thing because you're benefiting people's lives.
100% agree.
So, all right, you have a great rest of your day, and again, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me.
No problem, Morgan, anytime.
All right, have a good one.
All right, bye.
Bye. Thank you so much, Jason, for joining me this month. If you'd like more information on what Community Services Incorporated does, head over to www.csiwv.com. And don't forget, if you'd like to be featured on an episode of Disability Matters, or if there's a topic you would like to hear discussed on a future episode, reach out to me here at the ARC by calling 304 422 3151 extension 129, or you can email me at morgan.spicer at thearcmov.org. I'd love to have you on a future episode. With that, we're out of time for this month. Join me again next time for another episode of Disability Matters. We are advocating, educating, and celebrating the potential within you. See you next time.